Whether you're a founder just starting out, a seasoned business owner looking to expand, or simply interested in learning about the world of business, this podcast is for you. My name is Mario Schäfer, CEO at OneIB. In each episode, we will explore topics related to the creation, growth, and globalization of businesses, from ideation and funding to marketing and operations. Our guests will share their insights, experiences, and lessons learned along the way. Join us as we dive into the world of entrepreneurship and business on this podcast. Please follow us on YouTube. We are here today with Gustavo Fedi. He will tell us a little bit more about the political situation in Argentina. Hello, Gustavo. Nice to have you here.
Hello, Mario. How are you? Hello, the audience. Maybe I can introduce myself. I have a degree in communications. I'm an expert in public affairs and business development. I have 20 years of experience advising Argentine, American, and European companies. It's a pleasure to run this interview. Argentina is experiencing a moment of political change within the framework of economic crisis and a political representation. I will try to provide some clues about what may happen in the change of government, what expectations there may be for the future.
How do you think will Milei's foreign policy affect Argentina's relationship with other countries? What will be the impact of Milei's economic policies on Argentina's international trade and investment?
You see, President Milei won the elections saying he will make a radical change in Argentine foreign policy. From having a strong and close ties with countries like Russia, China, Brazil, Iran, and the whole BRICS, he will go on to relate to the United States, Israel, and the G7 countries. I mean, the traditional international finance system. Get closer to these countries considered liberal politically and economically, and move away from those considered more left-wing, we could say, or socialist. The change in Argentine geopolitics will also imply modifications in commercial ties with those and other countries or regions. On the other hand, I think Milei has commented that his administration will not intervene in commercial relations between private parties, so freedom of action, negotiation, and commercialization will be allowed between each company that operates in Argentina and abroad. I think that's a very clear change that he promised. There are many questions about what Milei said during the campaign, and I think it just passed 1 week since he took office. So the main doubts are if, when, and how he will comply with what he said in the elections. International trade for companies today has three main challenges. The first one is access to dollars to pay for imports. That's something I think internationally known and one of the main pay points for any company that operates in Argentina. The second one is maybe the logistics. Being a country far away from many markets is very challenging and more expensive, without any doubt. And the third one, I think it's sustainability and compliance with medium and long-term commitments, especially in the face of a change in government. These challenges may mean that the foreign trade and foreign direct investments in Argentina would be more complex than in other more stable markets. We would probably have to wait between 6 and 8 months to see if Milei carries out what he promised in campaign and whether or not investments and growth in international trade can be seen along with the improvement of the economy.
Milei is said to be a supporter of entrepreneurship. What will be the impact of Milei's government on the country's entrepreneurial ecosystem, in your opinion?
Well, you see, Milei is an economist who has worked his entire life in the private system. This is his second experience in the public service as a president. It's amazing. This is Argentina. Until December 10th, he was a national deputy for 2 years. He took over in 2021. His economic vision is that the private system, freed from state intervention, should be the engine of growth in each country. He believes in the free markets and non-intervention of the state. For this economic vision to succeed, there must be credit and growth in the markets and consumption. If it is not internal consumption, it must be international. What he proposes is that employment and private projects, international and local capital must be promoted. To achieve this, he proposes a reform and adjustment of the state public spending, liberate the price of the dollar, and other economic variables from state intervention. The key points of that is the economic rules of the game should be sustained over the time. Only in that case, the entrepreneurial ecosystem will be able to grow and find opportunities. If the economy cannot be modified or stabilized, it would be very difficult for it to happen. Argentina is a country that has many conditions to be better than it is today. The pain point is that adjustment, the budget cutout, that the state will make and how that will impact society, whether the citizens who just voted for him in 55% will continue to support these reforms or not. As I said before, we will have to wait between 6 or 8 months, but first, Argentina must to pasar el verano. This means go through the summer. That is because then that the next 3 months are going to be very stressful for the Argentine economy and society.
Milei is a supporter of liberal economics. So, in your opinion, how will the new government address the country's social and economic inequalities, as these always have been a trigger for many political changes in Argentina?
I know the short answer to this is with adjustment and hoping to show results soon. Before it improves, the Argentine economy is going to get worse. And that is something known by everyone. It is a question, or is a doubt, whether it will be able to show economic results of improvement or stabilization of the economy before the impact and the social response take will support. That is why the next 3 months are going to be essential for his administration. He will be arguing the budget cutout and reforms on the social support received in the recent elections. The social impact is unpredictable, absolutely unpredictable. But it's also true that the majority of Argentine society is tired. It has tried other options, and what has happened so far was seen by 55% of the people as something negative. It was known that the change had to be made in the economy, whether Milei or Massa won. The point is whether or not the change Milei is proposing would be worse for the citizenship than what Massa will have made. It is still early to see the measures, but at the moment, there is a devaluation of the currency that has a strong impact on the lower classes and consumption. An economic recession with inflation is expected, the so-called stagflation. It is still not clear whether or not society will accept the high cost to pay. The argument could be, in addition to the support that just gave him in the election, of course, the benefit for the future generations.
And as these profound changes always also bring governance challenges for the next president due to the complex composition of the Congress. What is your opinion on this?
Well, Mario, it will be at least 2 years of tough negotiations in the National Congress. Milei and his government take office with minorities in the national parliament. The agreements with political allies will be questioned debate after debate, issue after issue, debated in the Congress. On the other hand, Milei has shown signs that he will move forward with decrees and decisions taken exclusively from the presidency. If he managed the expectations not only of society, but also of the governors of the 24 provinces, of the unions, and above all of the Argentine productive economic sector, such as the agro companies, he will have more strength for the reforms he wants. I think the national parliament will be atomized. It would have Peronism in the minority, but it will continue to be a key factor in governability. In this regard, at the moment, Milei has reached small mutually beneficial agreements with, for example, the governor of the province of Buenos Aires, Axel Kicillof. Kicillof not just was the Ministry of Economy, the National Ministry of Economy, but is one of the top leaders of Peronism at the national level. It has the support of the majority of the previous government, not just the Cristina Fernández de Kirchner and La Cámpora, maybe are, I don't know if internationally are well known, but those are the main positions in the Peronism today. The national parliament is expected to have many debates and negotiations on some agreements. None of the parties wants to be seen as opposites to governance. That is why, at least at first, they are not going to deny or block all the debates. It is expected that there will be extraordinary sessions during the summer in Argentina, in which the state reform that Milei wants to implement and that requires the approval of parliaments to be debated.
The first statements of Javier Milei, also after his election, have been relatively moderate. So, as oftentimes internationally, at least, he's seen as a little bit eccentric. And the main question to be asked here is, will the future president be able to carry out the structural reforms he is proposing? There are dominant Peronist forces with their allies in the trade unions. Will they let him carry out his proposals?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. At first, he has the support of society, which elected him by 55%, as I said. He made a speech after his presidential inauguration. So people came and went to the Plaza de los Dos Congresos. So I think that probably this is the very first start of Milei's presidency. The state of the Argentine economy does not leave much space, much gap for adjustment measures and budget cuts not to be taken. Likewise, the agreements reached with Peronism, with governments, and with unions will be fundamentals. Above all, the result of stabilizations of the economy in the first place and the improvement of our growth indicators in the second instance. If he managed to contain socially through economic assistance to the poorest social classes and gives signs towards a medium and long-term plan, I think it will be able to advance. Unfortunately, as I mentioned at the beginning, barely a week has passed since he assumed the presidency. It is difficult to predict how profound the impact of the reform he will, whether society would bear it, and whether the country will have the necessary funds to make it until March or April, when agribusiness liquidate their exports and enter dollars to the economy. In that sense, the support of the international financial system will be key during these next 3 months. That's what Milei and her team are aiming for. Peronism is aware, to a greater or less extent, that it has lost and needs to rearm itself. This does not mean that he will sit idly, but it does mean that it will be open to negotiations and agreements. This applies not just for the Peronism in general, but for the party, the governors of the party, the national parliaments, and also for the unions. I think that it's very, very interesting that the unions and the whole Peronisms are willing to negotiate, because they are very aware of that they lose the elections. So that probably are going to be one of the clues.
Thank you for your insights, Gustavo.
You're welcome. I'm very pleased to have this interview to tell a little bit about what's going to happen here in Argentina, and I expect to have been useful.